and robbery unit in KZN?
All you know is that there is a murder and robbery unit in KZN. That in your view, had the capacity to absorb these dockets?
Very much so.
You satisfied yourself as to that?
Yes.
So why then, in July 2025, did you have to make a request for funding for a new team to be established to handle the dockets? Why didn't you, at that point, send it to the murder and robbery unit that you say had the capacity to handle it?
Chair, we discussed this point, and I did mention that because of the fact that the National Commissioner, the Provincial Commissioner rejected the docket, we had to come up with a plan. And in coming up with a plan, we could not just call people and say, go to Durban to go and conduct investigations. You needed to put a budget together because people must be accommodated because they will be coming all from outside KZN. They don't even know KZN, so you also need protection. Because then if the Provincial Commissioner say, I don't want them in the province, and the National Commissioner allowed him to say that, now from head office, we have to make sure that there's continuity. And in so doing, we had to put a budget together.
So you had to constitute a new task team to deal with the dockets?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That was my question on the dockets. As far as implementation goes?
General, before all that, why did you not wait until the detectives that were already part of the PKTT were assigned to the murder and robbery unit in KZN? Because if I understood you correctly, you said because they were already in KZN, the detectives who are members of the PKTT, they could continue with the investigations, but they could do so now being part of the murder and robbery unit. Isn't a sensible thing to do before you remove dockets and you reallocate them, is to actually reallocate the detectives so that once you know that there are detectives in place in KZN who are able to continue with the investigations. They are no longer part of PKTT, they are now part of the murder and robbery unit. Only then do you withdraw dockets and assign. Isn't that the sensible thing to do?
Chair, may you allow me to respond it in this way? If we all agree, let's take for a moment that we are all in agreement and this is what we want to do, we are not in defiance. We want to implement this decision of the minister. And then I wrote that letter that says, by this time it must happen, or it must have happened. All what will happen is that even, because we are all, it's all systems go, we all agree. And then from there, what will happen is that General Sintumile and General Kumalo will do a handing over. General Kumalo will say, okay, murder and robbery unit commander and deputy, let us have a meeting. They will have a meeting and say, now that the decision has been taken to disband that side, now all this docket now become to murder and robbery unit. Branch commander, here are your dockets now, sign over, hand over. Then all the investigators, the resources get also attended to, in a sense that, let's say the decision that was to be taken was that, okay, in any event, they all work in KZN. Let's take them all and make them part of the murder and robbery unit. The work still continues as normal. But if that is not the case, others will need to go back to Limpopo, Northwest, wherever they come from. We're still strengthening the other murder and robbery unit in those respective environments. But the fact that the docket could be handed over to the branch commander or to the deputy provincial commissioner to sign for, it really doesn't change or make impact that much, because let's say you die today as an investigating officer, having 400 cases. We still have to take your cases and redistribute them or take them and make a plan on those docket. I'm just giving you a clear example of a member who died now, having so many cases. Those dockets, they are not left somewhere. They just dealt with the normal way. So even the PKTT's approach, when you disband, it's not like there was any commission of crime in the manner in which it was being done, or any irregularity, or any something that was not supposed that is happening, that is constituting a breach of some sort of law or standing order. It was all in the name of work, the processes. If where there was an error of judgment, maybe perhaps I will accept it, commissioners, where the commissioners will say, yeah, but do you agree that there was a disturbance in terms of the attendance of those docket? And then why did you do this? Some of the things may be an error of judgment, but no malice intent was intended. It was just all in the interest of work and making sure that this process does not take too long. Thank you, Chair.
After that long explanation, do you accept that the proper thing to do is to first plan for what's going to happen with the dockets, and then you remove and reallocate dockets? Because you cannot reallocate them to non-existent detectives. When you reallocate them, you must know that there are detectives there who are qualified, who will take over the investigations. Do you accept that the planning must happen before the removal of the dockets? Simple.
I do accept, Commissioner, and also the fact that this document, that the one that that I signed, makes provision for that they must then go to be transferred to another.
General, let's not go there. You accepted that your document was rejected by General Masemola. He went with Kumalo's plan. So it doesn't help to keep going back to a document that was rejected. It was not accepted. You were at the parliamentary briefing. You were at the 6 March briefing. You know that it was not your document that was presented. It was something else. You know that. Thank you, Ms. Hassan.
Thank you. Sorry, General, did you want to respond?
Chair, what I know is that what was presented to Parliament, what was saying we are disbanding? That what was presented in Parliament, is that what was saying we are disbanding? That's what I know. And there was no objection from any direction.
But General, the big difference between what was presented and what you did was how you're going to go about it. Your document is immediate disbandment. As we discussed it, you immediately said things now fall under General Sintumule, and you gave all of those instructions of things that should happen, and you continued to do that in your subsequent correspondence, when in fact the National Commissioner's position was we're going to do this gradually. So you're right to say there was no, in Parliament, there was no disagreement with the disbandment, at least what was presented in Parliament. It was about how it is done. And we're having this big debate with you, and suggestions have been made about your motives, why you approached it in a certain way. It's this big difference that you were going for immediate disbandment when the National Commissioner wanted a gradual winding up. And so you were implementing, the two of you were implementing different strategies.
No, Chair. After, at some point, I began to, especially after Parliament, I began to realize, because I was there, that, okay, this is how it's going to be undertaken. And then I fell into the same line of thinking. The only difference became now when the Docket accept that for me then to have said also, let them also, the members reporting back to their respective environment, maybe I must accept there that it could have been an error of judgment there, and I'm taking that part. responsibility.
But that's not the only difference. It's not about when the dockets had now arrived. We went through your different letters and the presentation in Parliament, which is that gradual way of doing things. This is the General Khumalo presentation, and you say you were present. You still went and issued a letter in April that contradicted something that was in that plan. And that's something, there was an endless discussion with Ms. Hassan this morning about it, where the plan was the court-going dockets should remain, should not be part of what is handed over. They should remain with whoever the investigators, I think it is. And you offered, you gave a contrary instruction in April. So there was, you did fundamentally differ with what was done or what was preferred by General Sibiya.
Yes, commissioners, I do hear and understand. But for the court docket, when we talk about court docket, we're talking about investigation that has been concluded. It's a court docket. Now, those ones, it's not the reason why you should still keep the task team still alive, because these are dockets that have been investigated, even if a person is to go.
Let me stop you. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that's why the task team should have continued. I was just dealing with you saying the only difference was about the dockets, that, you know, the dockets were brought up to General Sintumule, and as soon as you found out, you ordered they should go back. And I was just correcting that no, there was another point of difference between what you were doing and what the National Commissioner and General Khumalo were proposing. And approved by the minister to be done. One example is this issue about the court enrolled dockets, I think that's what it is called. You said even those must be given to General Sintumule, when in fact the plan that ultimately in that 6 March meeting, the minister says, I was okay with it, said those should remain with the investigators. So that's another point of difference between your plan and what you were doing and General Masemola / General Khumalo's plan and what they were proposing. That's all I was pointing out. You can comment, General, if you want to. I don't want you to.
We were. I want to comment, but I wanted the Commissioner to. We were all on a transition or transitional period where we're saying task teams must be disestablished and we must capacitate the units that are established. And for the murder and robbery unit to function, at some point we need to bite the bullet and make sure that we capacitate once and for all murder and robbery unit to be effective. And that is, from my angle, I was moving from the person who's actually managing the performance of the detectives. From my angle, I'm just trying to ask the Commission not to limit the performance of my responsibilities to the mistakes that might have happened or taken place only because of the portion of the PKTT. But in my case, incapacitating the murder and robbery unit, we needed to make sure that we need all the capacities that we have, all the experience that we have in those structures, so that we have a capable state.
Thank you, General. Thank you.
Thanks. Can we move to another topic? And this is just to address something that you have raised on multiple occasions, and that is that when an inspection was done of the dockets that were brought up to head office, what was found was, in fact, they had been gathering dust with the PKTT. There had not been investigations for many years of those dockets. Am I summarizing what you said correctly?
Correct.
But of course, you did not mean 100% of the dockets.
Yes,
Yes.
Chair, I'm referring to the 121
Yes,
docket.
yes.
And even
But what I'm saying is, you did not mean 100% of the 121. You referred to examples 20, I think 17, 18, 19, 20, and so on, but not 100% of those dockets. Yes,
That's
Ms.
correct.
Hassim.
Thank you, Chair.
The-
Are you aware that only 92 of the dockets were audited? 92 of the 121. Are you aware of that?
I cannot agree with it, Chair. And why I say I cannot agree with it, I'm basing on what I have, the document. Personally, I have never seen even a single docket. So if the question is how can you not agree when you have never seen a docket, I will accept. But with the list that we have here, and where I am told that this is the list of the dockets that we inspected. If this is the list of the dockets that we inspected, I will take it that these are the dockets that were inspected. And instead, maybe rather, if the chair could say, can then General Sibiya come and bring all those dockets here so that we see, because they made entries in those dockets.
We've already gone.
Sorry, Ms. Hassim. I just need clarity on one thing, just to make sure that you are not talking past each other. General, is there a difference between auditing dockets and inspecting dockets? Do you know?
Yes, there is a vast difference. There is a difference between auditing and inspecting.
What's the difference?
The difference when you inspect a docket is when you inspect a docket, but when you audit.
No, you can't define a term by using the same term, General. You can't say when you inspect a docket, you inspect a docket.
When you inspect a docket, the chair, is when you take a docket and then you look into compliance, you look into, you have many, because there's in terms of the national instructions, inspection, the management of case docket, and how you manage a docket, and then so when you inspect a docket, you check that this docket is being run or managed in terms of the national instructions. In other words, when the docket is opened, was it put forward for 24-hour inspection? In other words, when a docket gets opened today, the very next morning it must be before the commander, who must read it and then give instructions and give a brought forward date and say, bring this docket again on this date, I want to see it. And then you keep on